Dr. Eman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I had a few questions for you regarding Egypt and terrorism. The first is, there have been new waves of terrorism sweeping through the region. How is Egypt affected by it?
Egypt is affected by this wave in three main ways. The first one is that it activates the local terrorist organizations now and again to carry out a number of terrorist attacks, repeating what has been going on in Egypt in the 1990s. Chief among these groups is Jihad Masr, that is very active in Giza, the revolutionary punishment group that is active in the mainland. The second aspect of being of such an effect is the increasing activities of a terrorist organization in northern Sinai, and nowadays there is a confrontations between the military forces, the armed forces, and the terrorist organizations. And the most very well-known terrorist organization active in that area is Wilayat Sinai, or as it was used to be known, Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, that announced its allegiances and loyalty to ISIS in Syria and Iraq. The third way that Egypt is affected by this new wave of terrorism is the phenomena of foreign fighters. Egypt is becoming a station that is attracting, especially northern Sinai, attracting foreign fighters coming from Europe, from Turkey, Syria, other conflicting zones surrounding Egypt, to join the Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis in northern Sinai. At the same time, Egypt is number of Egyptians decided to join ISIS in Syria and Iraq, contributing to the global phenomena of foreign fighters joining ISIS. And despite the limited number of fighters being registered by the official security authorities, as well as limited number being estimated by think tanks who are monitoring the region, which ranges between 100 and 300 Egyptians leaving Egypt to join ISIS. But it is still an issue because the issue of border security is still a number of issues, is one of the things that needs to be developed through cooperation with our regional as well as international partners.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, you would assume what my next question would be. What policies need to be followed by the Egyptian government to counter this wave of terrorism?
Well, I think Egypt needs to, instead of focusing and dedicating all the resources to counter terrorist actions, which is the physical aspect of the threat, it needs to pay more attention and dedicate more resources to countering radical ideas, which is the engine of terrorism. And this requires developing a national strategy for countering radicalism, which is based on a partnership between state institutions, either security or religious institutions, with citizens and civil societies. Also, Egypt needs to seek cooperation and coordination with its regional and international partners in order to build the capacity of the civil society, especially in the area of helping the victims of terrorism and counter-terrorism measures. Either such a help can be psychological, social, or economic help. Also, Egypt needs to share the experience of de-radicalization that it had regarding Al-Jama'ah al-Islamiyya with other countries in the region who are facing the threat of terrorism and radicalism, because such a model is very important and very successful, and according to some assessments it was successful by 95%, which means that only 5% of people who got de-radicalized from Al-Jama'ah al-Islamiyya decided to return back to violence. And such a percentage is higher than any other de-radicalization experience in the region. And finally, I think Egypt also needs to share the experience of online texting that is being provided by Al-Azhar Institution and Dar al-Ifta Institution in order to counter the online messages being dispatched by ISIS through the internet and social media network. As these two institutions recently developed an online observer, or as it's called in Arabic, al-Marsad, in order to develop arguments to refute religious argumentation being provided by ISIS to urge people to join ISIS. Such an experience is not very well shared with other countries, and sharing it would provide or create better environment through which radical ideas can be countered, not only on the national level but also on the regional level. And thank you.